Universal is launching year-round horror in Las Vegas with Horror Unleashed, a 100,000 square foot attraction opening August 14th at Area 15. But can Universal's seasonal HHN formula work in a permanent haunted space? That is coming up. Welcome to the show. I'm Philip, and on the Haunted Attraction Network, we bring you the news and information you need to prepare for Halloween. This show is just one small part of what we do. Our best coverage is in our free weekly email newsletter, so check for the link to that in our show notes. Today, Universal's Horror Unleashed is its first ever permanent horror attraction, promising 400 houses, themed bars, and immersive horror experiences in the heart of Las Vegas. Unlike Halloween Horror Nights, this venue will run year-round with a rotating selection of IP-driven haunts and a focus on never breaking the immersion. On March 12th, during the TEA Stories from the Fringes series, a Universal creative panel shared insights into how they're designing Horror Unleashed to keep guests coming back every season. This episode features an edited recording of the panel discussion. I mostly just took out their ums and pauses, and focusing on their design philosophy challenges and what makes this project different from HHN. The full description is in the show notes. Are you ready? Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Horror Unleashed is a 10,000 square foot warehouse rising as we speak out of the Nevada desert that is going to be home to 4 immersive walk bars, themed eateries, themed retail, all under one roof. This is leveraging our very successful Halloween Horror Nights content for a new year-round activation. And tickets are, in fact, on sale now. This is also one of our first new ventures. For us, new ventures is an exciting new part of our business. You might have heard of our Universal Kids Park, also happening right now in Frisco, Texas. And so, as we are covering the light, so too we must cover the dark. But let's give a little glimpse into what's going on in Las Vegas.
Bringing horror to life for Universal is very meaningful because Universal created the horror genre.
Universal Horror Unleashed is a brand new immersive experience.
This is a test of courage. This is a place you want to go with your friends to show them that you are strong enough to face your fears and live to tell it all about it.
The decrepit warehouse in Las Vegas, ancient artifacts have been brought in and collected, and their cursed energy has been contained within this warehouse.
It is going to provide 4 amazing immersive haunted houses that put you right in the middle of iconic and terrifying scenes. We're also going to have really unique, cutting-edge entertainment, retail, dining experiences.
When fans walk through the front door of Universal Horror Unleashed in Las Vegas, they're going to enter a new world unlike anything they've ever seen before.
It's going to be exactly what you want it to be. As a fan of horror, or even as a casual fan of horror, or just looking to have a good time out in Vegas.
This really is the place where horror comes to live year-round.
When you step foot inside this building, you're going to have the most immersive, most horrifying experience of your entire life.
Okay, great. So we've got some new faces and some familiar ones. So I'm going to welcome to the stage Abbye Finnan, Corey Schurr, and Chung. All right. So for everybody who sat through my very long intro earlier today, you know that at Universal Creative, our titles tend to have a lot of commas. And so rather than possibly butcher them, can we just go down the line very quickly what your role is at Universal?
Hi, I'm Abbye Finnan. I am the show producer for Great Hit Hollywood.
I'm the show producer specifically for 670 Horror Unleashed.
Yeah, hi, I'm Corey Schurr. I'm architect and senior design manager specifically for something.
Excellent. All right, so I am, again, perhaps too close to this. So as moderating this, it feels like quite a family reunion for us. I'm just excited. I'm also very curious. I worked on the front end of this project, so I'm also dying of like, what's it look like today? What's going on now? So let's talk a little bit about the decision to make a horror destination. What do you guys think, maybe going down the line, makes horror so evocative and such a great potential year-round destination?
It's the excitement of it. You know, you don't know what you're going to get. I think people like to enjoy being here, but in a safe environment. Hence theme parks and roller coasters. And this is just a much more extreme version of that. Makes perfect sense. What do you think?
I think I have this theory that haunted houses are the original immersive experience, right? Like when you talk about any theatrical experience, the whole goal is to get the guests and audience to connect emotionally. If you're watching a movie, you want to cry, you want to feel joy, you want to feel sadness. But when you're talking about horror, you want them to feel afraid. And that fear feels good. And people like being afraid. And I think that's what makes horror that immersive theatrical experience, and that's what makes it possible year-round, because fear is not seasonal. Fear is something that we can experience 365 days a year.
Yes. And then just to build on what Sean said, the storytelling and the suspense for me is really key, and being able to capture that in one footprint year round is really exciting, especially for Universal as a.
So as we early on, we were kind of looking at the early design principles, and I think they've definitely carried through. The things we sort of landed on were spectacle, world-class spectacle being one of our pillars, social scare and how fun and delicious it is to sort of the social barriers break down as you're kind of like somehow running and grabbing a stranger and like, gotta get out of here. And that's very powerful. And then the third thing being variety and making sure that we can keep this very fresh and as of the moment and new as Halloween Horror Nights feels every single year with new houses every year. Sean, maybe you can talk a little bit about going from our very successful Halloween Horror Nights into this new Universal Horror Unleashed. What are the considerations?
I mean, Halloween Horror Nights, as we all know, is just insanely successful, right? And it builds upon an insanely successful industry of haunts that is just across the entire nation. You go to any major city in the US and some major cities overseas now, and haunts are a staple. But there is a piece that's kind of missing, right? Like even at Halloween Horror Nights, you're walking into Universal Studios. Roller coasters, maybe Hogsmeade is in the background. It gets even worse when you're at a local haunt. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a local haunt, but you spend time standing on the sidewalk in the cold, like in the middle of the night. You walk through a mall in order to get to where you're going. You want a place to hang out afterwards, but you get kicked out and you're just in the parking lot with your friend. Well, that was kind of fun. Can we like get a drink and talk about this? No, you can't. Get in your car and go to a separate bar. There's this dream, I think, that all people in the haunt industry have had, including us and Universal and the creative director, TJ Manarino. I don't know if you guys know TJ, he was in that clip. He was a home haunter 45 years ago. He's been doing this forever. And that dream is being brought to life here. And the idea is really simple. Never break the immersion. What happens when you walk into this space, and from the moment you walk in to the moment you walk out, you are completely immersed in that world of horror. One overarching storyline that connects all of the houses as well as the space in between. Interactive characters that bring out storylines that you would never get when you're just trying to wander through the streets of Universal or going through a parking lot at night. What happens when you take all of that and you give guests a place to go before and after? Because that's part of the scare, right? The best part of the scare is that suspense. Let's do that. Let's hang out right before we go into the house and talk about it. Let's go into the house. Let's get terrified. And then when you leave, have that moment of catharsis where you can hang out with your friends and go, God, wasn't that amazing when Jack jumped out at me, or when this thing fell, or this huge crack happened? And that experience together afterwards is what that recap
Yeah.
solidifies that memory and makes it special. You get to do that over and over at Horror Unleashed. Every time you leave the house, you get to recap. Every time you leave the house, you get to think about the next one that's coming up. And that's what makes it special. This one continuous immersive experience. I think it's the dream of coming to life.
Okay, I know all about this, and I got goosebumps, you son of a gun.
He's so passionate about this act. You guys can't tell. He's really.
That's awesome. What a team. So maybe transition a little bit. So Corey, I just adored working with Corey on the early part of this. I have such a vivid memory. We had like a core and shell that was sort of defined, and we were really trying like, how do we fit this? How do we do this? How do you do this? And just to speak to the discipline of facility design and also the brilliance of you, Corey, you had like a lightning bolt thought that sort of, I think, became sort of the heart of this attraction and how these things fit together. So again, just your biggest fan. As we are looking at this, a lot of this was business as normal for us. We're building an attraction somewhere. And at the same time, a lot of this was completely new. We're in a new venture. This is a new space, a lot of unknowns. So how is this similar to our day job designing roller coasters, and how is it different?
Yeah, I think in the case of Las Vegas, right, we're now in a new footprint for us, leaving our Orlando or our Hollywood kind of home bases and engaging in a new location. Las Vegas, in this case, of course, we're looking to our partnership. We land with Area 15. If you haven't been there, I'm sure many of you have. Exceptional partner for us. They really share that immersive kind of culture and environment that really will elevate our experience as much as offer that kind of balance for us, and being a partnership with them and making sure that it's held to both of our kind of brand standards that way. So exceptional partnership for us there, but they did give us a box. So that is a thing, right? But one of the big things that we had in working through the program was trying to be able to make sure that the architecture inside of it, or the design orientation of that, really kind of carried through some of those storylines that Sean and the team had kind of brought and are pushing to kind of bring to that the table there. But of course, we have new jurisdictions, building officials that are looking at us and saying, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, can't use the word maze, it throws everybody off the charts, right?
Maze like exhibit is a little bit closer.
Yeah, exhibit, we landed towards some other words that maybe were more amenable to our building official partners. And even with our design partners, we found that a lot of them had never even been to Halloween Horror Nights. So we're starting from square zero with them, and it's like, let me talk about this maze. We're also going to call it a house. We're going to tell you about how you're going to exit it safely. We're going to tell you about how all these things happen, and really building on some of our entertainment archives with decades of legacy haunts that we can share photos of, but also from just various postings that we found from a number of our fans, and able to kind of introduce them to the concept and being able to share that and build that trust and relationship. Also evolving from this kind of temporary installation to a permanent one. How does that transition happen, and what are the key things that we needed to kind of focus on to pull it all together at the end? But really, in this case, of course, leaving Hollywood, leaving Orlando, it's that relationship with these new partners that was really important to being able to deliver the success. Being transparent, really exceptionally over communicating all the things, and being able to share with them the passion and the stories that we are so excited to bring to Las Vegas.
Excellent. That was awesome. So, the facility as a slice obviously show similarly having to find that duality between the 20-year plus build, rigorous GPS and OPS we tend to apply to things. How was it the same and how is it different on the show side? For Abbye.
It's quite different. It was a bit of a learning curve, I think, for a lot of us. I primarily do the attractions in Hollywood, but working with our entertainment partners in Florida, all is wonderful. We all do things so fundamentally different. Our codes are different, GPS is different. So it was really trying to figure out how to speak that same language was first and foremost. They generally run a little bit more fly by the seat of your pants. We generally run more by our show element list, to be very particular. So there was definitely that quite a bit of a learning curve that we could kind of meet in a middle ground to get the types of drawings, models that our vendors could build off of. And having, as Corey mentioned, that communication was incredibly important. And in my situation, after about a year, I handed it over to Sean, and now it's been his problem to figure it out. So I will let Sean take it from here.
I mean, I think it's exactly as Abbye said. There is that transition. There's growing pains, so to speak. But it is important to recognize that these haunts, these mazes, these stories, and these worlds, they get an energy from that organic character that is born out of that scrappiness, right? Like so much of it is about finding stuff that you thrift off the streets and things like that, becoming it is, but then making those things safe within our space. And the huge, I think, hurdle that was harder to communicate than others is that there's just so much in each one of these haunted houses, right? Even though the footprints are, we have this massive coaster going, I feel, massive footprint, it's so complicated and all that. But we have over 40 individual rooms and sets that we have to figure out that are each different, that are each unique with their own sets, with their own props. And that, I think, is what makes this such an interesting and mandatory collaborative process, right? It's organic, it's got to last forever, it's got to be safe for guests, but also it's got to feel dangerous and scary and ease. It's what you gather.
And as someone else mentioned, generally in temporary experiences, gas breaks things. They can fix it pretty easily. It's harder, especially being in Las Vegas rather than at one of our home bases where we have our tech services teams. You know, the team who built it, they're there. In this case, it was also trying to find ways to account for that, make it a little bit more difficult to damage or hurt yourself on or anything like that, because we don't have that quick overnight, okay, someone will be in at 4 o'clock in the morning to, reattach this or something like that. So we had to
Absolutely.
figure some of that out.
Oh, well, even the ambition to be open, you're at, even our own HHN. What is it? Monday, Tuesdays tend not to be a thing. We do some triage, so how interesting. Okay, so knowing our audience and knowing the great group we have here, both Universal Kids and of course this has opened up sort of a new vendor opportunity. So we're able to look at maybe vendors we haven't normally in the past or niche and really look at vendors more geographically located to help us navigate some of these challenges of going into new markets. What would you guys say as words of advice or maybe to describe the perfect new ventures vendor? What qualities would you look for?
Being able to pivot very quickly and very easily and not get a rude.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah, and on the A&E side, we, same kind of leading into what Abbye says, the being able to kind of pivot, but be able to pace with us, right? We're going to lead a certain cadence that is unprecedented, right? We're leading into our history of Universal, but also launching a whole new concept. So it's a lot of moving targets, a lot of learning curves, a lot of moving targets, and being able to kind of stay pace with us, allow us to kind of lean into us to kind of help you, but also bring your expertise and be able to be nimble and quick and creative kind of problem solvers.
Passing.
Yeah, I guess I would say that you're not going to survive unless you're also just as passionate as we are. It's not for the faint of heart, right? This whole new ventures thing is scary, it's moving fast, and it's often changing.
We don't have the rules built around the parameters that we do generally, which has been frustrating. More opportunity. There we go. I would say more frustrating for our typical vendors. Actually, they're used to having specific guidelines, and with this being a fully new experience, we're kind of figuring it out as we go. So
maybe just a show of hands, and this will illuminate the vendor pool. Who here feels like they've been personally victimized by the Universal GPS? Okay, excellent. All right, so we, as part of New Ventures, have been able to effectively author a brand new GPS. So that is how foundationally different we're approaching these opportunities and how we want our vendors to show up as well. For us, this is about being competitive, and we're moving into competitive spaces, and some of the baggage we've perhaps rightfully inherited over those last several decades can't come into these new ventures with us. And then another point we have brought up in thinking about versatility, the versatility of vendors. Yes. Corey, you mentioned in the truth, so most of your vendors, if not all, are first-time Universal vendors.
Right. Yeah, when we were approaching the kind of Las Vegas, we really needed somebody who knew the fabric of the community and could be able to bring that to the table and offer us kind of that extension of ourselves into that realm, and that is proving really valuable to us for sure.
Awesome. Okay, what's up?
For all those in the room, what does UPS stand for?
Oh man, well it's a dirty word. I think it's now I actually.
General Performance Spec.
Yeah, Steve got
okay,
it.
great. I would have gotten there, and then I would have been embarrassed. Steve Blum will call me. Thank you. Yeah, and it's sort of when you get a contract at Universal, you also get like a tome that like slams on your front door that is our specs. All right, the time is ticking, and in fact, it is nearly upon us. Tickets are on sale now. The first, and myself, I'll be there first weekend too. Knowing that we're not fully announced, but with the privilege of this awesome group, what are you most looking forward to, or what do you think is going to surprise people on August 14th?
So I'm a little bit of a chicken with this kind of stuff. So I do like that, like if I need a break, I can go chill at one of ours, friends can go do their own thing, but we are still having this experience together. Sean and I have been friends for many, many years, and he's definitely seen me be like, I'm going to Clara right now this time. So I like that we're still in the same place. We're not having to split up to go and do our own things. And I think the show is really gonna surprise some people. For the first show is really, I'm looking forward to seeing for.
So wait, just to say, so that's the entertainment that's in addition to the mazes?
Yes.
Excellent, all right.
I mean, I obviously, everything Abbye said and everything that you saw in the trailer, but honestly, the thing that is most exciting for me is knowing that when those doors open, that's day one, right? It's not going to look the same a year from that point on, because yes, we are all experts. Yes, we know what we're doing. 30 years of haunt experience, et cetera, doesn't matter. Universal Horror Unleashed is a completely new product. It's not out there anywhere else, and nobody knows exactly how it's gonna work. That to me is so exciting because it's going to grow, we're gonna nurture it, and when we do that, we're gonna need passionate partners to come on that journey with us. We're gonna need people who want to learn and grow and transform this into what it's eventually going to be. So that's what excites me, is watching it grow.
You've tapped into one of my things, which is like, I think we can all picture what this might look like September, October. It gets a little bit fuzzier when we start thinking what this looks like at Christmas, on Valentine's Day, on Mother's Day, and I think that's super exciting. Cool. Awesome. Corey, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna lean into a little bit of what Abbye said. For me, I've been a passionate about horror for many years, and being able to tie this together in a full-on project is really exciting. But I do recognize there are several people that don't engage with this kind of genre on a regular basis. And what I think is really important about being in Las Vegas, we get to kind of touch our toe into it just a little bit. You're saying like, I'm gonna go with you and I'm gonna get this little bit of Universal experience, and it's just this little side thing, that hustle that I went through from Las Vegas. I didn't have to go to Hollywood to spend a lot of money, or Orlando to spend a lot of money, but I can get that experience at my own pace, right? And I think that's really important, and being able to introduce a genre to people that maybe didn't think that it was gonna be something that they're gonna enjoy, but at the end, you know, you continue to challenge yourself visit after visit, and you're gonna feel that same sense of passion and exploratory suspense that everyone else in the end has learned to come and love. Really great.
That's so awesome. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is fantastic. Again, I feel so grateful that I got to be involved, but now I just get to be a fan and sit in awe of you guys. Grateful that you're here, grateful that you're able to be a part of this. I think we probably have time. Do you think for maybe one or two? I'm gonna say 2 questions.
Oh, boy. My Hunger Games begins. Corey, you spoke about engaging with the fabric of the community of Las Vegas. I was curious, to the entire team, what did you learn about the Las Vegas audience, and how did you need to adjust your thinking with intellectual properties that have been historically successful on both coasts?
How to say this in a certain way. Vegas is America's playground. You know, you have to keep that in mind. This is a little bit more of an adult community, you know, visitors-wise, than what we typically get at our theme parks. So we were able to, I think, push some boundaries a little bit more than we can standardly. So that I think has been fun. It has also, of course, got to keep in mind, you know, there are certain rules, and we're not trying to push anyone away, but, you know, sex sells. Vegas is, you know, there's, you know, lots of things to see. So it's also like, you know, keeping in mind, we have to pull people away from the strip. How are we going to do that? What are we going to utilize? And we were lucky to be able to use her Universal horror. Everybody knows classic Universal horror. So I think that, it's just kind of been interesting, and it's a little different from standard VJJ.
Yeah, and I want to echo a little bit, and again, going back to the sort of leading ideas at the time was like Vegas is ephemeral. Vegas changes like crazy, and I think when things make big sort of like permanent steps in Vegas, it can be feast or famine. It's a very, it's a boom town. So making sure we're sort of built to be dynamic, and that's where that sort of seasonality and other things come in. The world-class spectacle, we're not competing with other theme parks right now. We're competing with Cirque du Soleil. We're competing with other types of entertainment. So I can maintain that spectacle was important to us. And then again, we have now 30-ish years of really cool IP relationships. And I think we actually had an embarrassment of riches where many of our partners wanted to be a part of this, and we had to be selective, but I think that just speaks to the future and all the fun activations we can do to bring in those brands. Yeah, okay, well, I'm just gonna go until Eric comes up and pulls the mic. Sean, what's up?
Quick question. For somebody that's been part of the genre since House is #1 in Orlando, and being a guest of walking through, what would be the one new experience as a guest that I'm going to take away that I now have experienced 30 plus years of houses in Orlando? What do you think this is going to bring me as a guest as a takeaway?
No.
There's whispering.
I know.
This is not a shill. I'm actually.
This is, I don't want to say gotcha. We'll say redacted. There is some very cool stuff. And this cool video you guys saw here, I have the privilege of knowing there's 4 or 5 more of these on the way, probably in short order as well. What would you say, Chuck?
I can use words that
Okay.
Emotional takeaway, Sean.
emotional. Yeah. There are interactive moments within the experience that will take the storyline and the guest immersion up beyond what you would normally experience at HHN, and we are given those opportunities because we have a more intimate space to work with and a more controlled guest flow.
I'm going to do a throwback for those who have been here. Dulce brought up the idea of you matter, we matter. We share that design philosophy.
Thank you, that's awesome.
Did you guys make any design choices kind of purposely for social media?
We kept it in mind. We definitely kept it in mind, with the scenery and
And the central exploration
the central exploration in particular
is different than being in the park, right? So we had to make sure that every part of that was, you want to take pictures, you want to share this with your friends, you want to have a good experience and live in that space. So I would say that entire space is designed to encourage social media share and interaction, and it's what connects the housing.
Theoretically, it'll be a smaller audience per evening than typical HHN. So you can have these great moments, take these photos with your friends. Like I said, I know a lot of times when I do get dragged into one of these, my friends and I had them laughing really hard at the end because they're like, you got so scared. But, and you're able to still have that moment, still in this environment, without being forced through like you are.
Did I just hear hot take, no conga lines?
There's a fluctuating flow depending on capacity, but because of the year-round aspect, there will be the opportunity to experience a conga line-free experience at Universal.
That's not. I saw a few over here. Okay, to keep Eric okay, we're going to go right here, and then we're going to go in the back, and then that's it. Okay. Yes. You're good. Yes, sorry.
So I feel like there's this theme with LBEs where the first couple years they pop off, they go wild, you can't get tickets, and then it dips, and then they don't know how to keep selling tickets. So how are you guys designing this so that there is longevity and repeat visitors?
A little bit, but
It's everything we've been talking about in terms of the IP selection first and foremost, the immersion of the story, the fact that we will have interactive elements that go above and beyond what you would normally experience at Halloween Horror Night. And it will change as the years go on. I mean, I don't want to say too much, right?
yeah, and we're not naive to it either, and Shelby even touched on that, right? Like that February part is really important to us, and we're going to make that just as important to our visitors as much as our design challenge.
You tell me if I can say that enough.
Sorry.
Through Corey's amazing work and along a lot of partnership, we are building this facility that the individual mazes are kind of, maze areas are more like black boxes, so that we can continuously change our IPs as needed, seasonally, like we mentioned. I think, there's funny, interesting IP ideas for different holidays. So we could do so, even overlays in the central area. There's been different talks about festival-like moments, changing out shows. There's a lot of dynamicness to this building. Like you said, it was kind of just a shell, and then we built some really big rooms, and would put houses inside of them, similar to that. So there's still some of the element of how HHN is built. You take a soundstage, build the house in there. We're keeping the mentality in mind, but just a little bit longer than 6 weeks.
We'll also shout out to our Wild Optimist friends where we stole some ideas from them. Yeah. Part of it is we want to have interactive content that goes beyond what you would experience just in the mazes. That's also part of it.
Nova, right? Thank you so much. And I think the other last thing I would say, we invited them, they couldn't come, but our operations partner, Vegas is going to keep them on their toes. Partner, they're us. It's Universal, but they are going to really, really keep their pulse on the finger, or whatever, and get us to make sure that we don't go stale and are always moving.
Our GM is actually have a background in casinos and shows and everything like that, so I think she will be a fantastic resource to keep everything fresh.
Yep, Kim Scott, we love her. All right, last one.
Okay, as a future guest who would truly seek safe harbor in the bar,
yes,
other areas, are those going to be activated scare zones?
We are keeping in mind, the martini thing. If you walk around with a martini, you don't want somebody.
No one wants to wear a martini.
No, but you're just paying $22 for a martini. You don't want to spill it. So there's some of that being kept in mind. And
there's bars where you will get scared, and there's bars where you won't get scared. I don't know how well we labeled them.
Nice one. All right, guys. So thank you again so much. Thank you for being with us.
Today's episode was edited by me, Philip Hernandez, with post-production by David Swope and original music composed by Chris Thomas. Support for today's episode comes from Gantom Lighting and Controls. Gantom illuminates attractions worldwide with the world's smallest intelligent spotlights. From Dark Hour to Netherworld, Super Mario Land to Hagrid's Bike, Gantom goes where other fixtures can't. See what you're missing with a free demo? Sign up at gantom.com/demo. That's gantom.com/demo. The HAN team includes Daryl Plunkey, Emily Louise Rua, Megan Spells, Gavin Burns, and Omni Adventures. Until next time, stay scary.
This is a Haunted Attraction Network